Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 98th episode of Don't Forget the Popcorn. Today, we have a request from the five-star general on a film that I used to watch a lot with the homies back when it first came out. Before I get into this, I want to thank you, five-star, and tell you I'm so upset with you at the same time. Because watching this movie after not seeing it for about 10 years, I have entirely different feelings on it, which is good and bad. But I'll get into that later. Today's film is Hobo with a Shotgun, 2011, directed by Jason Eisner. This movie stars my guy, Rutger Hauer, rest in peace. He brilliantly played Roy Batty in Blade Runner back in the day. It also stars a bunch of Canadian actors, since this is a Canadian movie. The opening scenes has Ricky from Trailer Park Boys in it, a very Canadian show. Since I watched this movie a few days ago, I've been racking my brain on how I want to do this review. I still haven't figured it out and came to the realization I never will. So, I'm just going to talk about how I feel like this movie has shifted in perspective for me. Hobo with a Shotgun is a vicious vigilante film set in some form of a dystopian world. It really feels very post-apocalyptic. The world doesn't feel real, or at least it didn't when I first saw it. Long story short, a hobo goes around killing a bunch of bad guys with a shotgun. But it's way deeper than that. This movie covers themes of justice, corruption, daddy issues, favoritism in kids, the treatment of the less fortunate, greed, and ego. I mean, they stuffed a lot in a movie that's less than 90 minutes. Now, when I first saw this, I was like 19, I think, and I watched it with a bunch of my friends. A young carefree college kid who loves stupid films used to think this movie was just mindless fun and gore. I laughed at all the silly murders and the treatment of the civilians in this movie. I thought it was all so pointless and funny, just a movie you get stoned and make fun of with your friends. So, when I put this on, my mind reverted to my 19-year-old self, and I was just preparing to laugh and write a goofy review about how they crushed some dude's head with two bumper cars, or how they smashed some dude's foot with a mallet. But as soon as it came on, my current adult mind kicked in, and I started analyzing the film for its merits. The writing is actually quite brilliant, and it's pretty well acted. Obviously, Rutger Hauer was great, but I want to point out Molly Doonesworth, who plays the prostitute Abby. Her character is the center of this all. She's the reason to care. She is the catalyst in all of this because it's her who you root for, not the hobo, even though he's the man too. In this movie, we see a small city completely being ran by one man, Drake, and his two sons, Slick and Ivan. These are three of the most detestable characters you'll ever see in a movie. I mean, the things they do to people in this film is just like, why? I mean, they kill some people in some of the most gruesome ways. In the opening scene, Drake decapitates his brother's head by putting his head in a special made sewer grate in front of the entire town. Everyone is forced to watch as we see that these men have no laws or consequences in what they do, which got me thinking. These characters are just a political metaphor for so many things happening in the world. And when I say political, I don't mean politicians or anything relating to any specific leaders. This is not that kind of channel, and I don't really like to get into politics. So I'm definitely not going there. More so, the right ass's kiss will get you the most comfortable life. More social politics, if you will. The politics of life, not so much the government, even though these guys do own the cops and other officials in the area. That doesn't matter. People are greedy and gonna do whatever they can to get to the top. Most people at least. And don't say you wouldn't, because you never really know until you're in a given situation. This town is a living hell. Freaks walking around doing whatever they want. There is zero law and order, and I don't know if the filmmakers were trying to give their perspective on a future world at the rate we are going, or if they just wanted to make a fun gore fest with a simple plot that was mindless goofballness. I didn't see this movie as mindless fun anymore. People are made extreme examples of in this movie. That reminds me of things that happens here in America. The internet and social media and all the social commentary here in America is quite interesting. It's done a lot of good and bad, and we all know why, or know some examples to back it up. But this movie lives in a gray area where mainstream media was still the main source, but news on social platforms have arrived and were quickly growing with popularity. This town is split into two very distinct camps, just like America is. But in this current state of the world, a lot of people don't really know what to do or how to feel. The citizens in this movie are scared. They don't know where their next meal comes from. There's more homeless than ever, kind of like now. They have a hard time trusting the powers that be, and they can't be blamed. Everyone is corrupt and out for self, and no one wants to stand up and fight for what is right. A select few individuals make all the decisions. They decide who's worthy of certain lives and who should be essentially condemned to living a hell. Drake and his sons wear black and white, which made me think most men in power wear black and white suits. Drake wears a suit the whole movie, which usually symbolizes someone of importance, someone with authority, or at least someone who has a job where they need to look sharp. Drake is no different. He's the top dog. He might as well be the president. Nothing goes without his say. He owns the town, the cops, the citizens. And his sons do whatever he says because they both desperately want to be the favorite, which Slick is the real favorite of the two. These two fight for their father's love, and he pits them against each other in order to get what he wants out of them. This film is oddly about relationships between Drake and his two sons, Abby and the Hobo. But Drake is evil, and his sons are constantly against each other for daddy's affection. Slick is clearly the favorite, and we know that when something happens later. Now, Abby is a prostitute who is really just trying to get by in this world. She deals with so much stuff from this town, and that I just really couldn't imagine living the life she does. Her and the Hobo meet under some interesting circumstances and end up forming an odd father-daughter type relationship. He looks out for her and cares for her, and she does the same. Why he cares so much, I'm not sure. Maybe he just hates seeing a nice girl in this kind of situation. Maybe he had a daughter before. But for her, I think this is the father figure she's lacked probably her whole life. Someone who cares about her and the choices she's making. Someone to protect her, like she's probably never had. Someone to just talk to who doesn't want something from her. Some would call these daddy issues, especially in the career she's chosen. But I say this is a young lady playing the cards she was dealt in the best possible way. She has her own place, and she always seems to want the Hobo around. Not just for safety, but for comfort. Now, let's get a little bit into the meat. This movie shows us that justice sometimes needs to go into your own hands in order to make a change. This town lives in fear of Drizzy Drake. It's like Robert De Niro said in A Bronx Tale. They don't love Sonny. They fear him. There's a difference. These people just bow down to this man because of who he is and the power he possesses. Now, some things happen and the Hobo has had enough. He takes the money he's earned from doing degrading acts on camera and buys a shotgun. He starts going stupid and blowing dudes' souls away, cleaning up the streets. Essentially, this place is worse than fucking Gotham, and this guy is the new Batman here to clean him up. As his rep goes up, his chances of survival goes down. Drake and the crew are after him because they see him as a threat. Someone who isn't afraid to stand up to these corrupt people. Now, I would absolutely love to go into detail about some of the events that happened, but I don't think YouTube would like if I did. But I'll tell you a little. The two sons are out to get the Hobo, and in an attempt to bring him out and reignite the fear in the city, they put on a nice display of Slick, the favorite son, burning a school bus filled with young children. Long story short, the Hobo and Slick have a showdown, and he does some things to Slick that no man would ever want done to him. He kills Slick, and now it's war between Drake and the Hobo. This film is a classic example of real life. Most empires fall because most of them rule with a heavy hand. And in Drake's case, it was an iron fist. The Hobo was a symbol of hope and change for the less fortunate and those outcasted by society, just like we've all seen throughout history. That's why there's revolutions, uprisings, and revolts. People can only take being the punching bag for so long. Everyone at the end of the day just wants to be treated equal. There are those who fight like King and those who fight like X. But regardless of how you fight, you still fight as hard as you can. And that's what we see here. We see people who know they have no shot still taking one. You see two people who care about each other, a found family, stand up and make change together, even if there's an ultimate sacrifice. This movie shows us that fighting for something greater than oneself can really make a difference. Because in order to make change, it takes sacrifice. And that's what these people do in this film. Hobo with the Shotgun on this watch for me really made me appreciate it far more than I did when I was young. Like I said, we used to watch and just laugh at the absurdity of it all. Now, this time, I didn't laugh. Even though I saw enough, I remember what was going to come. And all the scenes of violence hit me different. Maybe I just watch films through a different lens these days than I did at 19. But one thing I know, this is a pretty good film. One that actually does have far more to say than meets the eye. It's unique with its bright colors and over-the-top action. The actors in this movie really bought in because there were some disgusting, disturbing things that they do and undergo in this movie. I can't say I would suggest this to anyone squeamish, but if you're a fan of movies like Planet Terror or Machete or Rob Zombie movies, I'll check this one out. I'm going to give Hobo with a Shotgun a 7.3 out of 10. Guys, thank you so much for watching my Hobo with a Shotgun review. Let me know if there's a film or topic you'd like me to review. Like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. I got a podcast from my buddy, The Cutting Room Floor. I'll link that below for more movie content. Follow me on Letterboxd, Ralph Vader. I will be back next week. And don't forget the popcorn.